with my experience of leaders I've had, that I've done my best when I felt appreciated by the leaders. Important for you to sort of show your colleagues that you appreciate them.
Absolutely. Again, it's as a leader, you very seldom get that reciprocal because it's just a strange dynamic, and perhaps we don't do enough as leaders to show that appreciation in our ranks. But you try and do it. You have to have systematic programs and processes, because it's easier towards the top element spheres of the strata of a company, but when you get into the ranks, and our group employs over 50,000 colleagues, so it's the operatives that are out there working long hours, working middle of the night, 24 hours a day, on public holidays and religious holidays and so on. Those are the colleagues and individuals that really need the pat on the back and the thank yous and so on. We try and do that. Clearly it's virtually impossible at a senior level to do it all the time, but certainly the odd example, if personal touch points and so on, great to do. But yeah, if that gives you any colour on that.
Okay. And have you always been a leader throughout your life? So maybe in sports teams you've been captains. Have you always been looked up to by people, or have you sort of come into your own in the business world?
Very good question. That I'd say I'd classify my style as being quite a I wouldn't say an outwardly obvious sort of leader in that sphere. I don't think I ever captained a rugby team. I might have been deputy captain. Well, yeah, I've had one or two touch points along the way, but generally speaking, more of a person very confident within myself and my own ability to back myself. And I think as you grow up through society, sometimes you have systems and processes which would lean towards one way or the other. If you're particularly good at sport, you may automatically become the house captain or the sports team captain, or whatever the case may be. Certainly I was in my junior days I was a prefect. I wasn't a prefect in my senior school days, and so on. So perhaps the elements of it, but at the end of the day, I think my own character probably was a very independently minded individual from a very young age onwards, which was my own form of leadership.
And with your obviously high confidence in yourself and your ability to back yourself, have you ever made decisions that have gone completely against everyone's sort of gut feeling, but that you're right and that's the right decision?
I wouldn't say every day I do that, but I probably wouldn't be far off the truth. I practice that actually, not because I necessarily think that I want to sort of go against the grain for the sake of it, but quite often I've seen opportunities in business where the herd is moving in one direction, and actually the opportunity lies in completely the opposite direction, or in a very different direction. And that's what I've been particularly good at, just exploring and assessing where those pockets of opportunity lie, and trying to be creative and think about things differently. Because society has a typical way of pushing you down a certain path, a certain furrow, which if you look around today, the most obvious examples of these big technology groups, these new age technology groups disrupting the way things have been done before, the Ubers and the Airbnbs. So that's clearly a case of a very tangible, visible case of moving in a different direction. So we do it as a group, and within myself, I often get comments from our group advisors and so on saying, goodness me, where did this concept come from? And it'll just be something that perhaps I've come across while I've been out running, or the case where I've worked on for a while and tested things.
Okay. And being the leader that you are, what has been the single biggest decision in your career so far?
Backing myself. I think at the end of the day, just throughout any other typical sort of reins on one in society and so on, it's just taking a view and just backing myself to have a belief and a vision, and not wanting to throw in a towel, and just really taking with both hands opportunities, and just really going for it, and just tenacity moving forward.
Okay. And what would you describe as your best habit, do you think?
But perhaps as a habit, to answer that more swiftly, maybe constant learning and sort of this being curious about things, and not taking what you see as the answer. Just wanting to develop and evolve and learn. I probably don't read as much as I should, although I do talk to people a lot, and I like to meet people and just chat to them, and so it's just learning and curiosity. Maybe that's a pretty good habit, I guess, to have.
And if you were employing someone, would you look for the similar qualities like the tenacity and the no shortcuts kind of values?
Yeah, I think depending on where that individual would sit and fit into our organisation, but some of those characteristics are very positive characteristics to have, the integrity aspects and ability to, perhaps be calm and methodical and all those sort of aspects that we'd be looking in. But depending on the role for the individual, you could have a marketing or salesperson, which is going to be perhaps a bit different to an operating style sort of person, to a technology-based person, and so on.
And is there sort of a way to develop these characteristics you've talked about, maybe through sports or going to university, or did you always have them in you?
Well, I didn't go to university, which was interesting, so I was too impatient to get going in business. I did a management diploma in my second year of my compulsory national service, which we did back in 30 odd years ago. But I think you do develop it. I think just being curious, if you can keep an open mind to it's being learning, if you're learning all the time, then you have the ability to absorb and to reflect and to modify your behavior in a certain style and certain fashion. That's what I found certainly works for me. It has worked for me.